Boo! It's Halloween! Well, unless you're watching this at some other point in time, but for me, it's always Halloween. I love watching horror movies and watching things about the paranormal or cryptozoology and the like. Personally, I don't believe in any of it. I'd like to. It'd be fun, you know, to think there's some huge squid monster out there, or there's a dragon in the mountains, or there's a gay frog wizard. Just how cool would that be? Anyway, since it's the spooky time for quite a large majority of people, I thought I'd tell you a spooky story that happened to me many years ago. And I thought I'd tell this whilst I got the platinum trophy for Vampyr in the background. Wow, what a great game, by the way. I love Vampyr. It's very clunky and it's technically flawed. Loading times, crashes, yeah. But anything with vampires in, it always gets my thumbs up. That sounded weird. Regardless, Vampyr, good game. I like it. Fits nicely with the spooky theme. Anyway, it's spooky time, so let's apply a spooky filter and let's put on some eerie, license-free music to set the mood. I shall begin my tale. I live in a village with very rich archaeological and historical significance. Saber-tooth bones and cave paintings have been discovered around here, and thus the surrounding area are under quite a lot of protection to keep the history alive. During a school trip many moons ago, we were all allowed into one of the bigger caves to see some of the paintings and learn about how the cave may have been used as a shelter in the past. Inside the caves there are lights and platforms that have been built so that tours can take place. However, there are deeper sections of the caves that can't be accessed. Well, they could be if you tried, but we were told that they went on for hundreds of meters and that some of them have been unexplored for safety reasons. At the back of the cave there was a gap which you could see through, and we shone a light into it to reveal that it did indeed go much deeper, and you could just make out a few side passages. How deep those go, I can't say, but given the space that these caves occupy and the age, I would say that there are miles of natural caves yet to be explored. The tour continued and we were told about the local legends. Robin Hood apparently used one of these caves as a hideout for some time. The woods that are surrounded by the area supposedly contain human bones, so apparently that area is haunted. And the strangest one was the story of a cave dweller, which the guide lovingly referred to as Craggy. According to all the staff who ran these guides and the museum, this creature did indeed live within the caves. Of course, nobody believed that because that's just ridiculous. But obviously, with the suggestion of something possibly living within the caves, I got a bit curious. Nothing happened during the tour, we didn't see anything, but a few days later, me and some friends decided to go down to the caves and see if we could see this creature. We took our backpacks full of some stuff and a few torches just so we could see deeper into the caves, and then we headed on down. This creature was described to us as short, thin, and somewhat human looking with pale skin. Now if you've ever seen that sewer video with the creature in it, I imagine something akin to that, but possibly smaller. So, we went to several of the caves and shone our torches through the bars to see if we could spot anything. We even tried calling out to it and listened for any movement, but we didn't actually see or hear anything. One of the group decided to throw a stone into the cave to see if anything would react, and nothing. It was dead silent. Eventually, we all got a little bit bored and ended up joking around, and after a couple of hours of looking into empty caves, we decided to just call it a day. The sun was starting to set, and I decided that I would just go and have one last quick look, just to be sure. All of the guides swore that they saw something in the caves, and the people in the village also had their own stories and experiences about it, so there was something there. Surely, there must have been. I needed to see this thing for myself, or I wouldn't believe any of it, and I would just assume that it was a story that people told children to keep them from going inside the caves. But of course, nowadays, with it being a historical landmark, it's completely protected and there is no way inside the caves anymore. So why this story continues, I'm not so sure. So I geared up and I went down to the caves. I started off with the smallest one and shone my light inside, calling out to Craggy to see if I could spot anything. Nothing. I moved on to the biggest cave entrance and pressed up against the bars and shone my light inside. Remembering what my friend did a few hours ago, I decided to pick up a stone and throw it into the cave to see if anything would react. I ducked down to find a decent sized pebble, and when I stood back up to get ready to aim, I caught a glimpse of something inside the cave, but it wasn't anything like what was described. It was covered in oily black hair, and it had green eyes. It had large tusk-like teeth, and it was on 4 legs. I stared at this thing for what felt like minutes, but it was most likely just a few seconds. I raised my torch to get a clearer look, and when I did, it sped off into the caves, almost completely silently. I was frozen in place for a moment, and only when I dropped the stone in my hand I realised what had happened and I snapped out of it. I backed away from the cave and I went home. I've been back to those caves many times since, and I've never seen that thing again. But in all honesty, I'm not really too sure I'd want to. Hope you enjoyed that scary story, especially because I just made it all up. Happy Halloween!